Okay, we're going live. We're absolutely going live, man. I'm going to need some more coffee here in a moment, coffee boy. Hope you guys are doing great. I will tell you, yeah, we do drink coffee out of the mug, bigjreport.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. College football was interesting and crazy, and Florida got a lot of apple turnovers from FSU. Who would have thunk it? But I pretty much said Florida wins the game, but I didn't think they win by more than 17. But hey, they did. Florida 31, FSU 11. You're welcome to pop in here with us. Now, I may get up for a couple of minutes, make some coffee. I got to go to the little kitchen area at World Headquarters, but we'll make a little coffee. You can watch the ticker, Florida 31, FSU 11. I saw where Alabama beat Auburn 28-14. That's a good win for Bama. But these three lost teams, people crying and complaining about, oh, we got three losses. We should be in. Well, there shouldn't even be 12 teams in the playoff. Shouldn't be more than 8. These three lost teams, your bowl teams. Come on now, let's face it. You got a lot of them in the SEC. It's some of these teams are going to get in the playoffs. South Carolina's hot. They won 6 in a row. They beat Clemson, I think, by a field goal or so. Low-scoring game. And that probably, and I say it knocks Clemson out of the playoff, but then all of a sudden I'm getting some news, and John Gaylor talked to me extensively, our contributor and correspondent, about different scenarios. And then I wake up early this morning. That's like 7:30 Sunday morning. It's a new month, December the 1st. Yeah, I got to flip the calendar over. I find out, and there's a lot of first-year ACC teams. I find out the SMU Mustangs, who it's their first year in the ACC. Where did they come from? They came from, was it the old AAC, the one that Army, Navy, Tulane, and some of those schools are in? I mean, the mid-majors are going to get screwed. They are. I mean, there's 12 teams getting in. The SEC is going to get at least 3 in. Tennessee beat Vanderbilt by, I believe, 13 points. What was it? 36-23, I believe. We'll check the scoreboard here in a little bit. But Tennessee won their game. They needed to win to get to the playoff. Now they're 10-2. They're not 9-3. Tennessee's 10-2. So Tennessee is a team definitely getting in the playoffs. Well, there's a 12-team playoff. I always thought back in the day, when you get these conference championship games, you got the first round of the playoffs right there. But no, you go to the championship games, either team gets in, whether you win or lose. Whether you win your league or not. But, and I talked to John Gaylor about this. Of course, I'm old school. John Gaylor likes to see a lot of football teams. John made a comment to me. He says, man, I don't care if there's 12 teams and they're all from the SEC. And I thought that was the funniest comment. Now, and John, that's fine, because there's a lot of good teams in the SEC, no doubt. However, listen to what you're saying. This is a national championship playoffs. It's the national championship playoffs, where you get representation from all over the country. Just like the presidential election. It's from all over the country. It's just not from California and New York, right? It's from all over the country. And I've lived in 3 different states in my lifetime. Worked in radio, basically in all 3 of the states, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Whoa, Nelly. Alabama beat Auburn. And I think you could sit there and you could say, Alabama and Auburn and Michigan and Ohio State, those might be the biggest 2 rivalries in college football. I'm being honest, and I'm a guy from Jacksonville, Florida, that grew up here, that loved Georgia, Georgia, if you will. But Florida, Georgia is in the top 4. Who's in the top 4? It's got to be Alabama, Auburn. Ohio State, Michigan. I think Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, they're pretty close. I'm going to give it to Auburn and Alabama just by a whisker. But those are very similar rivalries. They're both in the same conference. They border each other. Heck, Alabama and Auburn's in the same darn state, and they're in the same darn conference. SMU will play Clemson in the ACC title game. Now, here's the way I feel about these conference championship games. I don't care what your record is. If you win your conference and your conference championship game, you got to have a decent record to get to the conference championship game anyway. If you win your conference championship game, that should be an automatic, and it may be. Clemson somehow found their way in. Miami got knocked out. They got beat by Syracuse. The Syracuse Orangemen 42, the Miami, Florida Hurricanes 38. And keep in mind, both of the games that and Miami played a decent schedule because they played Florida. They beat my Florida Gators, no doubt. I think Miami surprised some people early on. A lot of people didn't think they would be that good early on with a good quarterback like they have. The coach, I think, is pretty good. I don't think he's the greatest, but I think he's pretty good. I think he can recruit. I think he knows X's and O's a little bit. Cristobal, I'm talking about with Miami, who's been back there for a couple of years now. I saw something that all of a sudden these things are flying around where Gus Malzahn, was he going to get fired at Central Florida for the what did they only won 4 games this year? I think it's Central Florida. 4-8 maybe? So Gus Malzahn saw the handwriting on the wall, and he bolted to Florida State for the offensive coordinator's job. And I saw that announcement yesterday. I said, man, is that for real? That's for real. And maybe Malzahn's thinking, man, if they blow Norvell out, I'll be the next head coach. Well, you can't really think like that because you're working for the man. You're working for the guy. Norvell's a good coach. He's a good coach. Deion Sanders is not going to Florida State as much as some of the fan base would love that. I mean, let me tell you, Deion Sanders, he needs to worry about beating those Big 12 teams. He's in the Big 12. I think Deion's first year, he was in the he was in the Pac-12, and now they've moved to the Big 12. The Pac-12 still exists with 2 teams and more teams coming. And I saw something about UNLV has a shot to make it to the playoff because they're in their conference championship game too. There's a lot to discuss. There really is. I may step away from the mic for a minute. I don't want to stop rolling the video. Let me take a look at this and see if you can see this. I don't think you can. No, you can't see it. When we started this podcast, whether we were right, wrong, stupid, crazy, or smart, I've got this little thing going where I can move my head in front of the coffee mug. Now, in the background, you see different things. Steve Spurrier, Danny Werfel, Tim Tebow. That's a little picture of all 3 of the Florida Heisman Trophy winners. Sometimes it'll come into focus. We did radio for 25 years, so this is kind of like radio on video for me. So I slept good last night, so I'm ready to talk football. I was really surprised to see that Clemson still got in the ACC title game, but it was because Syracuse beat Miami, rock, scissors, stone, or whatever it is. Rock, scissors, paper, right? Maybe stone is in there somewhere. But SMU plays Clemson, and for my money, if I'm the committee, I'm taking the winner of that game. And then if anybody else has a good enough record to get in, like Miami, maybe let them in. Let them in. Remember that great song by Paul McCartney? SMU is a first-year ACC team, but they got a lot of first-year AACC teams. California and Stanford both bolted to the ACC. Florida State wants out. Man, at 2-10, man, you better just be lucky you're in a conference. That's my shot at Florida State today. But man, where would they go? To send them out to the Pac-2 might be a little easier. I mean, Washington State and Oregon State and a bunch of mid-majors, they're looking for teams. And from what I hear, they're going to end up with probably 5, 6, 7, 8 new teams. Maybe they'll be the Pac-8. When I was a kid, they were the Pac-8, and then they become eventually the Pac-12. Colorado went out there. I mean, there's been movement. I mean, for years, there's been movement of teams from this conference or that conference, but not major conference realignment like we've seen in 2024. Heck, Texas beat Texas A&M, and they're going to be in the SEC title game versus Georgia. Two good teams. And as far as the SEC is concerned, those are the best two teams. Those are the best two teams. And don't even think about head-to-head right now. Those are the best two teams. Then you got everybody else. Alabama's right up there. Alabama got beat by Tennessee. Tennessee beat them on the field. They're 10-2. They got a better record. That's why they'll be in the playoff. Tennessee beat Vanderbilt. Alabama did not. Alabama got beat by Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma on the road. Now, if Nick Saban's the head coach, how many of those games did they lose? I think maybe one of those. I don't know what happened with DeBoer, how they lost to Vanderbilt. I think it was 40-35. And then they only scored 3 points on the road at Oklahoma. There's something internally wrong with that. It's a first-year coach at Alabama, DeBoer. He was at Washington last year. This Washington team finished second in the nation. But I'm going to tell you right now, Washington is not Alabama. Washington is really not even Florida. And now you've got a guy that moved after DeBoer left to Washington. You got a guy he was at Arizona State, Jed Fish, a former offensive coordinator for Gus Bradley with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's a head coach at Washington, and he's not going anywhere. Heck, they lost to Rutgers, I think, this year. I'm not sure where Washington finished in the Big Ten, but, man, these teams like Washington and Rutgers, they're going to finish. They may start finding themselves finishing in the middle of the pack in the Big Ten and never going back to the playoffs. 12 teams in the playoffs. We know some of the teams that'll be there, right? Oregon's going to be there. Oregon's in the Big Ten title game. Oregon, they'll be in the playoff. Win, lose, or draw in the Big Ten title game. Oregon will be there. We know Texas and Georgia both will be there. Tennessee will be there. So we're starting to fill in the teams. And then you can completely fill it in after the conference championship games. Now, this rivalry Saturday was incredible. And on the ticker, I got a couple of scores there. We've got a bunch of scores. I mean, Syracuse surprised Miami. High-scoring game, Syracuse 42, Miami 38. In that game, Miami's on the fence. They're 10-2. But should Miami get in ahead of the 9-3 SEC teams? Probably. They've had a good year. They even beat Florida. Florida beat LSU and Ole Miss and Florida State. So I think if you win 10 games, now Arizona State won 10 games, but they might not get in, but they're from the Big 12. And then John Gaylor said, I said, well, how many teams from the Big 12 would get in, John? He said, 1. I said, how many from the ACC? He's thinking 1. It's going to be like the SEC Big 10 tournament with a couple other victims, but I don't know. I mean, when they come up with the 12 teams, I'm going to look at that and say, I could have done it differently. I've always said that about college football. Now you got a TV network running college football now. The only thing I could say good about college football this year, the games have been good. I followed my team, the Florida Gators. They're 7-5, and hats off to Brother Napier, because Coach Napier, man, he was on the hot seat all year long, especially early in the year. He had to win some games and win them quick. And he did. He beat a sliding UCF team, but he had the team prepared against UCF. The only, since the UCF game, there was only one bad game, the Texas game, and Florida did not have either quarterback. Both their quarterbacks were hurt. They played Aiden Warner, no relation to Kurt, and they played him in the Texas game. And he was a transfer out of Yale, the Ivy League. And none of their teams will make the playoff. But I got to thinking about it, and I watched Aiden Warner, and I was pulling for the young man because I'm a Florida guy, Florida fan. But he couldn't really complete a pass downfield more than eight or 9 yards. And that's the difference in him and a guy like Lagway. Lagway can run. Now, I'm going to tell you something I haven't seen with a Florida quarterback, and this maybe even includes Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was like a fullback playing quarterback, right? Or a running back. But this guy, Lagway, I saw some escapability. Do you understand what I'm saying? I saw some escapability out of Lagway. They had him with a hand, and he moved away. He felt the pocket. He's got a future. And I hope he stays at Florida and plays for Florida the next 3 years. I think the guy will play at the next level if he keeps improving. He's got a lot of potential, quarterback DJ Lagway. Florida Gators with a 31-11 win. North Florida Entertainment, the Jacksonville Icemen are hot on ice. They won again. They won 2 games in a row. They won on Friday night 2-1 over the Solar Bears. Now they beat the Swamp Rabbits, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits 4-1. Jacksonville Icemen 4, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits 1. In Jacksonville at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena on Saturday night, November the 30th. And now the next day, hey, here we are. It's December 1st. Everybody, it's December 1st. Florida 31, FSU 11. Alabama, whoa, Nelly. I miss Keith Jackson. Alabama 28, Auburn 14. And what about Georgia winning in, I couldn't say it for several hours, 8 overtimes. I couldn't say it. I said, well, they won in a few overtimes. How could I even say that intelligently? Georgia beat Georgia Tech in 8 freaking overtimes. But they did. And I could have sworn I read something about Georgia Tech had a 17-0 lead in this game. Their coach ain't going nowhere. Georgia Tech had a good year. They're going to be bowling too. They're 7-5. They had Georgia on the ropes almost all night long. Georgia was thinking SEC title game. Georgia Tech was thinking we're going to win this game, and they come darn close. They did. It was Georgia 44 and Georgia Tech 42, and that was a Friday game. November 29th, the day before the Saturday rivalry games. Jacksonville, Florida, 32. Atlanta, 32. Charleston, South Carolina, 30. Waycross, Georgia, 29. Brunswick, Georgia, 28. I'm looking at some temperatures. Fernandina got down to 41. They're kind of in a warm spot. Folkestone, Georgia, 27. Here in Jacksonville, 32. McClenny, 29. Lake City, Florida, out there with Lake City Larry Saucerility, 32 degrees in Lake City. So those are some of the temperatures this morning. We're on the live stream. Glad to have you. We're gonna talk college football. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor. We're right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're live. Episode show number 65B. 65B on the live stream. In the ticker, you can read the ticker because I'm going to get up and go make some coffee, and you guys can read the ticker. We got the Florida score on there: Florida 31, FSU 11, Alabama 28, Auburn 14. That's a big one up there in Alabama. There's some NFL games we're going to take a look at. The Jaguars host at Everbank Stadium the Houston Texans. Texans a 5.5-point favorite. I'm going to have to change my fantasy football lineups. We've got a Teal Shirt Report fantasy football league, and you know what I'm talking about, JC. You really do. I checked the old mailbox yesterday too. There's some good games. Thanksgiving, Detroit beat Chicago. They didn't cover the spread, but they beat Chicago enough to get Eberflus out of there. Some bad clock management by the Bears, by the Chicago Bears. And we can run down stuff on Twitter. I lose a few on Twitter, gain a few. Twitter is an interesting little medium. It's not even called Twitter anymore. It's called the X. Elon Musk's company. And Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, they're going to drain the swamp. And what do they find at the bottom of the swamp? Man, it might be scary. A lot of corruption. A lot of people hanging on to their money. Looks like the high today in Jacksonville is going to be about 63. A lot of sunshine when the Jaguars kick off today. Kicking off at 1 o'clock at Everbank Stadium. A lot of games today. I got Denver beating Cleveland. That's a Monday night game. Denver Broncos are my pick to cover the 5.5 points. Cleveland, man, they've gone from great to good to bad to okay. That's kind of been their season. Their season's been almost as bad as the Jaguars, although the Cleveland beat the Jaguars much earlier in the season. Let's don't sugarcoat it. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-9. You want me to repeat that? The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-9. We're absolutely brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, and by Lake Uvalde Hits and JC's Thursday Night Live from the Pub Show. We're going to talk college football. We got a lot of high school football scores on the website for teams that are in the playoffs and high school football at bigjreport.com. Go to our website at bigjreport.com. 32 degrees here in Jacksonville. That is 0 Celsius, my friends. 32 degrees Fahrenheit in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm Scott with bigjreport.com. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast, as you can see at the bottom lower half of your screen. We've been on the live stream for about 22 minutes or so, and I'm gonna go pour some more coffee. I can't get any help out of the coffee boy this morning. I'm, a little bit earlier I did, but I'm gonna go pour my own coffee. Doak Campbell Stadium was a good place to be a Gator. The Gators were the recipient of, some good hot apple turnovers on a cold night. Florida Gators 31, Florida State 11. And, it's great to be a Florida Gator, right? Now, I'm going to tell you, I like Coach Mike Norvell, but I wasn't rooting for him last night. They've had a rough year. Man, he's had to hire Gus Malzahn, who saw the handwriting on the wall with his 4-win UCF team, including a loss to Florida. And maybe a great hire. I think it's a hire. I think they're saying, Mike, we're gonna fire you if you don't hire Gus Malzahn or some type of offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. Now, Coach Billy Napier is going to have to do the same thing at Florida. That was a part of the prerequisite for the athletic director to go out on a limb for Billy before the Texas game, because he knew the Florida was going to get blown out because they had neither one of their top two quarterbacks, and they're playing with a guy, Aiden Warner, who can't, he doesn't move that well. He's a transfer from the Ivy League, and I saw the guy complete an 8 or 9 yard pass, and that was about it. DJ Lagway can run. He can evade trouble. He can throw that nice wrist action 15 to 20 yard pass down the field. He can run the offense. Florida's got good running backs. And I think the two biggest things for Florida, three biggest things, Coach Napier kind of rolled up his sleeves. And something happened during the bye week before the UCF game, and Florida made it, turned what could have been just a horrible season into now a pretty decent to good season, a winning season at 7-5, with actually Florida playing probably the toughest schedule in the nation. That's what all the books said in the preseason. Florida had the toughest schedule in the nation. I heard somebody on the Four Letter Network saying, well, it might have been the second toughest schedule. Well, it could have been. I'm just telling you what the book said. I'm going to believe the books over the Four Letter Network and the Talking Heads. Well, most of the books. I'm going to go make some coffee. You guys are welcome to hang around, read the ticker. And it's cold in the studio here. I don't even have the heat on. I feel it's cool. I put the sweatpants on, got a shirt going over here at World Headquarters. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. The Iceman, man, what a great name for a team with this kind of weather. 32 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida this morning on Sunday morning, December the 1st. Iceman 2-1 win over the Orlando Solar Bears on Friday night. And then a really nice 4-1 win over the Greenville Swamp Rabbits on Saturday night, November the 30th. And quietly now, the Icemen have won their 9th game in a row in the early part of the East Coast Hockey League season. The Jacksonville Icemen are now 9-5-2, 9 wins, 5 losses, and 2 overtime losses. So that's where they are. We're going to go pour some coffee. We'll talk more college football. This is not really a game that's high on my list, but Iowa State did beat Kansas State. I had picked Kansas State. Iowa State was a 2.5-point favorite. I think Iowa State probably needed the game more than Kansas State did. They're a contender in the Big 12. Iowa State ranked 18th in the nation. Kansas State ranked 24th. Iowa State won the game. Iowa State 29, Kansas State 21. That's a score from the Big 12. I picked Clemson, but South Carolina won the game. South Carolina's hot. They won 6 games in a row. We'll take a look at all the scores, or most all the scores coming up. You can also go to bigjreport.com, just like the coffee mug says in the background, and check out high school football scores. I got college football scores. We do have college football scores up on the website too. And when the live stream goes off, you're welcome to keep watching. Change those fantasy football lineups. It's almost 8 o'clock in the morning. Cold outside. I'm looking out the window. Man, it is clear, sunny, and 32 degrees here in Jacksonville, Florida. Up there in Eufaula, that small pocket of southeast Alabama. Man, he's up there. That's what I was told. 20 degrees. The info was I had 20 degrees in Eufaula. Let me give you some other temperatures, and then we'll go make some coffee. The Icemen are hot, as I told you. Jacksonville Icemen, East Coast Hockey League. Jacksonville Icemen win their 9th game of the season now. The Jacksonville Icemen 4, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits 1, a final score on Saturday night, November the 30th of 2024. The Jacksonville Icemen now with a good record of 9-5-2. We got that info from bigjreport.com. Okay, here are the cold temperatures, and we have actually dropped a degree since this report. Jacksonville, Florida, clear and a cold 32 degrees. Brunswick, Georgia, 25 degrees. Lake City, Florida, 30 degrees. Atlanta, Georgia, 31, all under clear skies at about 6:40 a.m., much earlier this morning on Sunday morning, December the 1st. Every place was clear except they got a report, however, partly cloudy in Eufaula, partly cloudy and a very cold 20 degrees in Eufaula, Alabama, earlier this morning at 6:50 a.m. on Sunday morning, December the 1st of 2024. We gave you some North Florida entertainment. The Icemen have won 2 games back-to-back. How about that? The Jacksonville Icemen. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to go make some more coffee. We'll talk more college football. I'll get re-energized with some more coffee. You can read the ticker while I'm away. Thank you for being here. I will take this opportunity actually to find us. Let's see if I can find you guys or find us on the Teal. We want to bring some more people in to watch. When our stream goes out, when we end, in other words, you can still watch it. It'll still be up there. We can find the live stream. Okay. Oh, wow. I found the live stream. My goodness. Here we are. Live stream. And the live stream is on. I'm kind of looking at YouTube now. The live stream is like on a delay. Yeah, it's about a 4 or 5 second delay at least. I just tested that. Um, we're gonna we're gonna get our live stream advertised into the bigjreport.com Facebook group, the chat. These guys don't know what's coming now, but I'm making coffee right now. Making coffee presently. Let's see. Hey, my wife said she didn't eat dinner. She didn't feel like eating dinner. My wife's been on the diet, I think. She doesn't really need to be on a diet, but she wants to be on a diet sometimes. I am on a diet. Iceman won 4-1 over the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. Okay. Let me see if I can find these guys in the chat. Let's see. We are streaming live now. I'm telling the guys in the chat, streaming live now. Let's see. Can advertise this thing a little bit more. How about the Florida Gators, 31-11 winners? How about those apples? Let's go into the group. You guys are welcome to come in and have fun. Comment. What did you think about Billy Napier's rebounding since, say, the UCF game? And, the only bad game was the Texas game when Florida didn't have either quarterback. Okay, so we've got the live stream up. Okay. Okay, this is a live stream, by the way. Let me make a note in the comments. This is a live stream, right? Thank you guys. Man, it's cold. Man, it's cold out there. 32 degrees. 8:03 in the morning, 32 degrees. And yes, we are on a live stream. You can go. We'll try to advertise this thing, come up a bit. I think I saw it in the chat. Brother Nunnery, one of our producers, our executive producers, JC. Want to thank John Gaylor also. John Gaylor, one of the brains behind the operation. John's probably saying, don't give me credit for that. Okay. But I appreciate the help. Any help you get on the Teal Shirt Report podcast on bigjreport.com. I do appreciate you guys very, very much. Yes, this is a live stream. So come in, say hello. Say hello in the comments. If nothing else, say hello in the comments. And bear in mind, I am going to step away, but I'll be back. I'm making some coffee. I should advertise live stream in some of the Jaguars groups. There's one called Jaguars Den that's pretty good. We're talking college football. Jaguars a 5.5 point underdog, but there's a lot of optimism. And because they're going to early anyway. They're going to top 15, and offensive linemen should be there. I think some of these skilled players that everybody's banding about the Heisman Trophy, they're great players, great college players. Desmond Howard was a great college player. But as far as NFL goes, some of these guys are fool's gold. I'm not saying anything against them, but some of them are absolutely fool's gold, if you know what I mean. I just advertised their stream in Jaguars Den. Great guys. Live stream right now. Check us out. Now, I am going to walk away. For a refuel of coffee. The coffee boy made some great coffee, but now he's left this arena and headed elsewhere. So I'm going to actually have to go pour the coffee. So I'm going to walk away. You can check out the background, and I'll be back in a moment or so here. Thank you guys for checking us out. The Teal Shirt Report podcast live stream going on now, right here at high prices. So check out the coffee mug. I'll be back in a moment or two. Walk over here. Mm. Hey, hey, get on over here. Oh man, the old coffee boy. Man, woo, man, something's going on over there. Okay. Now we're gonna warm it up in the microwave. Got a lot of good creamer. JC knows how we roll. He knows how we roll. Yep. Oh man, it's cold. He knows how we roll. Man, look at that over here. Oh man. Okay. Oh man, that's how we roll. Well, I'm actually hoping. Okay, I'm actually hoping that my Facebook friends, neighbors, friends in general, family members, even the haters, you're welcome to tune in to the Teal Shirt Report podcast at bigjreport.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Florida Gators 31, FSU 11. We can check some college scores. There were a lot of games. We're not all of them, but there's a lot of them up. There are absolutely a lot of games up right now. It's Sunday morning, still 32 degrees. I see Sheriff Waters on the TV screen, and we got the monitor on. We got the monitor on. Jaguars play today. Jaguars play today, 1 o'clock p.m. All aboard the Gus bus. Okay. Now we're not talking about Gus Bradley. Yeah, he's talking about Gus Malzahn. Okay. Talking on the stream. Live. My wife doesn't want to eat dinner. Okay. She doesn't want to eat dinner, and that's fine. I did eat dinner last night myself. So we'll advertise the live stream wherever we can. We'd love comments. Subscribe to the channel, please. And yeah, the Knowles lost. Okay. Okay. So you can subscribe to the channel. Here we are right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're live streaming, talking Florida Gators. Florida Gators with a win. Who was it? Was it James Carvell, the Democratic strategist? That's not really my party affiliation, but I will say this: he's a pretty good college football fan. Big LSU fan. He is he's he's a big LSU fan. There's no doubt about that. And man, we appreciate you guys very much tuning in to the podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Florida Gators won. Florida Gators beat FSU 31-11. Florida 31, FSU 11, Alabama 28, Auburn 14. Should we go get some more scores for you? We'll talk Cowboys as long as you want. We will absolutely talk college football. All that you want. There's been a lot of it. The rivalry games were awesome. I mean, they were plentiful. There were, I mean, almost every game that you're seeing. Hey, this team's playing that team. They were all rival games. Most of them, most all of them, again, were rivalry games. Let's pull up some scores. We've got a lot of scores, and we put them on our Facebook group. We put them on our website at bigjreport.com. We would love for you to go to our website. Check out the college football scores, the high school football playoff scores, and more. Jacksonville Icemen again, big winner. The Jacksonville Icemen win their 9th game of the season now. The Jacksonville Icemen, Greenville Swamp Rabbits won. Final score on Saturday, November the 30th of 2024. The Jags 9-5-2 on the subscribe to the channel so you know when you subscribe, then you know when we live. Cold weather. I got to change the temperature a little bit in our Facebook group. Let's see. We're going to take the low temperature from 33 to now 32 here in Jacksonville. Brunswick, Georgia, 25. Wow, that's pretty cold. Some low temperatures across our areas this morning. Currently, Jacksonville, Florida, clear and a cold 32 degrees. Brunswick, Georgia, 25 degrees. Lake City, Florida, 30. Atlanta, Georgia, 31. All under clear skies at about 6:40 a.m. on Sunday morning. However, partly cloudy and a very cold 20 degrees in Eufaula, Alabama. On, let's see, at 6:50 a.m. on December the 1st of 2024. That info comes to us from Big J Report. Let's take a look at absolutely some scores. Again, Florida 31, FSU 11. Okay. Tennessee beat Vanderbilt. Tennessee 36, Vanderbilt 23. The Vols now 10-2. This win today should put them in the playoffs. If you're 10-2, you're a big conference, you're going to the playoffs. Chuck McKenzie made a comment. Miami goes down. I think he made a comment. 2 in the top 10 lost already today. College football. Larry Munson broke a chair last night in heaven, or a Friday night in heaven. College football. Larry Munson, the legendary voice of Georgia Bulldog football, broke a chair Friday night in heaven. How many overtimes? 8 overtimes. Georgia 44. Georgia Tech 42. A few overtimes is what I called it. And then I got it confirmed because I had to watch the game. I slept through the darn thing. It was a great game. I got reports from a good friend of mine, Dave Stockton, who worked in radio for years. Yeah. John Gaylor told me about it, and Georgia won the game 44-42 over Georgia Tech. That was a Friday night game on November the 29th. Another college football big rival game, huge win in this rivalry. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10, the final. Also, South Carolina beat Clemson. South Carolina's 9-3. They're making a case to get in the playoff. And then Syracuse beat Miami. I'm looking at the highlights of that game right now. That ended up Syracuse 42, Miami 38. South Carolina 17, Clemson 13. That's a big rivalry. That game was played on Saturday, November the 30th. South Carolina 17, Clemson 14. How did Michigan do it? Michigan got beat by Indiana. Michigan does not have the team they had last year that won the national championship, but somehow they summoned up enough power during this huge rivalry. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10. Final score in a defensive struggle like 1970s type game. Gus Malzahn is stepping down at UCF. Maybe they might be making him step down. Maybe that's what happened. He's 4-8. They did get beat in their final. Let's see, who were they playing in the final game? UCF lost. They only won 4 football games. Malzahn is going to step down, and he's taking a job at Florida State as the offensive coordinator, getting on the Gus bus. Okay, you can't beat them, you join them, kind of thing. I don't know. Almost everybody beat Florida State this year. But the Florida Gators defeat the Seminoles. Big win. Florida Gators defeat the Seminoles 31-11 in Tallahassee at Doak Campbell Stadium. Bobby Bowden, the great Bobby Bowden. His name is obviously on the stadium. Big win for Florida. Napier needed 7 to keep his job, in my opinion, even though the athletic director came out before the Texas game. Big Ten, number 1 Oregon will play Penn State in the title game. Texas will play Georgia in the SEC title game. SMU will play Clemson. And Arizona State plays Iowa State. The winner of that game should get into the playoffs. Number 14th ranked Arizona State is actually 10-2. They will play Iowa State. And I think the winner of that game will at least be the one representative that Mr. Gaylor was talking about that would get into the playoff from the Big 12. It's good for the Big 12. However, when the SEC starts talking about, I think 3 teams from the SEC is enough. You're going to have Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee, and then you got these teams that are 9-3. The Alabama's they're all still wanting to get in. Our executive producer, John, they don't. Alabama doesn't need to be in the playoff, and he's an Alabama fan. So I appreciate that candor and banter about college football. Alabama's 9-3. South Carolina's 9-3. Who's the other team that's 9-3? We talked to Gaylor and I talked about that yesterday. There's about 3 teams 9-3. There's a lot of good football played, as you know, in the SEC. By the way, today is National Pie Day. Man, my favorite pie is probably egg custard pie from back in the day. But I like other pie too. I always enjoy a good piece of pie with a hot cup of coffee. College football, huge win in this rivalry. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10, South Carolina 17, Clemson 14, the final on Saturday. So I'm trying to think of who the other 9-3 team is in the SEC. Let's just go to the standings. Let's break it on down. In the SEC, let me pull up the end. Georgia, Texas will play in the title game, the SEC title game. Tennessee will be waiting in the wings. They won't be in the title game, and it might be to their advantage. They take a week off before the playoff. They've already beaten Vanderbilt. Texas punches their ticket for the SEC title game to play Georgia. Georgia just barely escaped. That's probably how Larry Munson would have described it, right? High temperatures to Jacksonville, about 63 or so. Low temperature this morning was 32, and now we're inching up. It's now 36 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida. We gave you the low temperatures a little bit earlier this morning. Tennessee rallied to vanquish Vanderbilt. Tennessee at 10-2 could be in the playoff. Let me pull up the standings because it's all completed now except for the SEC title game, right? Let's take a look. Let me see if we can pull up the old standings. The SEC football. We're going to pull up the standings. And take a look at the standings. Not too good for Mississippi State. Mississippi State got out in front of the Egg Bowl, and then lost to Ole Miss by a couple of touchdowns when it all ended. When it was all said and done, Ole Miss is the other 9-3 team. Texas 7-1 overall in the conference. 11-1 overall. 7-1 in conference play. Georgia's 10-2, 6-2 in conference play. Now, if you got 2 losses through the regular season, that's different than having 3. Now, Georgia may lose to Texas, and that would be 3 losses. They're still getting in the playoff with 10 wins. Georgia and Texas will both be in. Texas will get a higher seed if they, win the SEC championship. They'll get a higher seed if they win the SEC title game. Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee, those are the ones that deserve to get in. You got them 3 lost teams. Alabama 9-3. Whoa, Nelly. Ole Miss 9-3. And also Missouri is 9-3. Quietly, they're a quiet 9-3. They do have 3 conference losses. I don't think Missouri's as good as Alabama. I don't think Missouri's even as good as Ole Miss. And a hot South Carolina team has won 6 games in a row, and they're 9-3. You got 4 teams in the SEC. Send them to bowl games. Just send them off to a bowl game. If these people that run and own college football, they want to take all those 9-3 teams, it's going to screw up the works. It's going to gum up the works, in my opinion. Texas A&M was 8-4. They got beat by Texas. They're going to a bowl game. LSU's 8-4. They'll go to a bowl game. Florida's even going to go to a bowl game at 7-5. And don't think now, but the Arkansas Hogs are 6-6, but they're only 3-5 in the conference. Vanderbilt finishes 6-6, 3-5 in the conference. Vanderbilt will go bowling. How about Oklahoma? 2-5 in the conference, 6-6 overall. They probably kept Alabama out of the playoff. Auburn did not have the greatest year. I think Auburn's going to be a better team next year. They've had 2 years of Coach Hugh Freeze. They're 5-7, 2-6 in the conference. Kentucky and Mark Stoops did not have a great year. They were 4-8 overall, 1-7 in the conference, including a 48-20 thrashing from the Mississippi State 0-8 in the conference. Man, how do you go 0-8 in the conference? 2-10 overall. And you know something? The cool thing for Vanderbilt, they finish ahead of at least 4 teams in the SEC in the 2024 season. So that's a conference standing. Should we talk about NFL now? We can. Certainly, we could talk about NFL. We've run down some of the college football scores for you. Told you who's going to play in the conference championship games. And God bless all you guys that are tuned in to the TO Report podcast. So, we're glad to have you guys with us. I have found on YouTube. We are on YouTube. Boy, there's a great documentary out on YouTube by Bob Seger. How Bob Seger outsmarted the music industry. He was one of those guys, rambling, gambling man, kind of stumbled. The music industry was not kind to him early, and man, he persevered. Bob Seger, great musician, man. He's got a lot of great songs. He's actually supposed to be retired now. I think he did retire. I think he's had the farewell tour. Some people come back and have an additional farewell tour. But so that's some of what's going on. Let me take a look here. Oh, there we are on YouTube. Okay. So if you guys would hit the the subscribe button. Um, we would appreciate it with the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. We would appreciate that as well. Here at the Teal Shirt Report podcast, we're live streaming for you a little bit. Hit that subscribe button. We talked college football. Did I get scores in? Well, I don't think I did. I'm going to be checking my fantasy football lineup here in a little while. South Carolina's hot 6 wins in a row. Here's some college football games in more detail. Huge win for these teams on Saturday. Let's see. These are all rivalry games, the majority of them. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10 a final. Ohio State falls to 10-2, but they're going to be in the playoff. Also, South Carolina 17, Clemson 14 a final. Clemson's still going to be in the ACC title game because Miami lost to Syracuse. Clemson is going to be playing SMU, the Mustangs. I think I'm going to pull for SMU in that one. Florida 31, FSU 11 against South Carolina 17, Clemson 14 a final. Texas heads to the SEC title game. Texas beat Texas A&M. Texas 17, Texas A&M 7. Texas, a new member of the SEC conference, Southeastern Conference here in 2024 as they join the league this year in 2024 for the entire season. Alabama 28, Auburn 14 a final. Also Tennessee 36, Vanderbilt 23 a final. Tennessee now 10-2. They should make the playoff. Syracuse 42, Miami 38. Miami's 10-2. Miami's going to border on the fence of whether they get it or not. Arizona State will move to the Big 12 title game. Big 12 title game against Iowa State. Arizona State. I watched a little bit of their game. Arizona State 49, Arizona 7, a final score. Another one of those big rivalry games. Arizona State now improved to 10-2 after that one on Saturday, November the 30th. That Arizona State, the Sun Devils, with a 49-7 win over Arizona. So now Arizona State improves to 10-2. They may really Arizona State may have to win the Big 12 title game to make it to the playoff. Same thing for Iowa State, I believe. And the Big 12 may only get one team in. Also, Indiana. I think Indiana will be in the playoff. Indiana with a 66-0 win over Purdue. They put their stamp on trying to go to the playoff after losing to Ohio State last week. Indiana, Michigan beat Ohio State, but Indiana did beat Michigan about 3 weeks ago, 20-15. And on Saturday, November the 30th, Indiana 66 and Purdue nothing, the final scores. Let's look at some of college football. We'll be back with another live stream a little later. On the next one, we'll talk NFL. A lot of games today, including the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars play at home at Everbank Stadium. Jacksonville's a 5.5-point. I'm sorry, Houston. Let me back up on that. Jacksonville is 2-9. Houston is the 5.5-point favorite in Jacksonville. That's right. Had to double take it. But Houston's really the better team. The Houston Texans are a 5.5-point favorite playing today in Jacksonville against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to take the Jaguars to play a good game. At least get under the 5.5 points. I'm going to take Jacksonville. If you're looking for a good survivor pick, take the Denver Broncos. I took the Denver Broncos as my survivor pick. I'm also taking them to beat the Cleveland Browns on Monday night and to cover the 5.5 points and be my survivor pick. My streak got broken in survivor. I did have 8 straight wins in survivor, but my streak was broken last week. Orange Park, Florida with 45. Jacksonville up to 36 now. Mayport 46. Bernardino 46. Baldwin. Let's see. Jacksonville Zoo's 38 degrees. Baldwin 35. NAS Jacks 45 right now. Low temperatures. We did hit 32 briefly. There's been some widespread frost in some areas across North Florida, South Georgia, and possibly a little pocket of Southeast Alabama. All got down to 20 under partly cloudy skies earlier this morning. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital, the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com, and Lake Keep All the Hits. JC does his show live from the pub each and every Thursday night, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time is when it starts live from the pub on Lake Keep All the Hits. LakeKeepAllTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Special thanks to our producers. I do want to thank our executive producer, Jay State, also our producer, Alex Nunnery, and John Gaylor, our contributor and correspondent. Hey, thank you guys for watching and listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We'll be back a little later today with another live stream on this one. Iceman winning 2 games in a row. The full gamut of college football. Florida with a 31-11 win over Florida State. You guys have a great day. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, and we appreciate it. We're wanting new folks to come in and check us out and subscribe and comment. Who makes the playoff and who does not? Comment in the comments here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast on BigJReport.com. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital, the Mad Max Weebly.com, and by Lake Keep All the Hits. You guys have a great day. I'm your host, Scott, for the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 65B. And hey, I'm out. Have a great day and change those fantasy football lineups.